The Middle East is on high alert this hour as missiles fall across Israel and Iran for a fifth straight day. A short time
on CNN tonight, tensions rise as missiles rain down across Israel and Iran for the fifth consecutive day. President Trump abruptly ends his G7 trip to personally oversee a rapidly escalating conflict, revealing complete and total control of the skies over Iran. But is this brinkmanship genuine power or a dangerous escalation? Let's break this down together.
A time ago, Iranian state media announced the launch of a new wave of attacks. Air raid sirens sounding again today in Tel Aviv and other parts of Israel. Iran claims that it struck an Israeli military intelligence center in Tel Aviv. We should note President Trump is now back in Washington after unexpectedly leaving the G7 summit a day early. He's convening his national security staff in the White House Situation Room today as the U.S. monitors this rapidly developing conflict. Just in the past hour, in an extraordinary set of social media posts, the president announced, quote, "We, emphasis on we, now have complete and total control of the skies over Iran."
Trump's claim of air superiority is an aggressive power play, a strong warning that the U.S. is deeply entangled, even if publicly denying direct offensive action.
Trump also issuing a veiled threat to Iran's supreme leader, claiming that we, again, we, know where he is hiding and calling Ayatollah Khamenei a, quote, easy target, but adding that he is safe for now. CNN's Elena Trine is live for us at the White House. Elena, what more are officials saying about this?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, Boris, a very remarkable set of posts there from the president. And really, I want to highlight as well, not only did he just say we know exactly where Ayatollah Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, is in hiding, but he said that we are not going to take him out. Emphasis, he said, kill him in parentheses, at least not as of now. And then he added that his patience is wearing thin. And
a chilling sign that diplomatic efforts are giving way to escalating threats, skewing toward military action with little room left for negotiations.
I can tell you, Boris, that's in line with the reporting I've now been hearing from multiple sources who have been familiar with the behind-the-scenes discussions on this escalating conflict between Iran and Israel. I would note that in recent days, really, the president had been kind of fixated on and really pushing for a diplomatic solution to try and end this conflict. He had said publicly, but I also know he said it in private conversations, that he'd been hoping that there could be some sort of deal to be worked out with the Iranians. But we are learning now in these conversations I'm having that the president is actually moving farther away from that idea, that he's kind of his desire to handle this diplomatically is beginning to wane. It's still very much unclear, of course, what the U.S. is going to do moving forward. The possibility, I'm told, that the U.S. would go further than they have yet in aiding Israel in trying to wipe out Iran's nuclear capabilities is still on the table. Again, unclear, though, if they would actually go that far. You mentioned this, but the president is meeting this hour. I'm told it's going to kick off any moment now, his meeting in the Situation Room with his top national security officials. That is the reason I was told that he ended his trip to Canada at his presence at the G7 summit so abruptly. He wanted to have these discussions in person, specifically, of course, as we're seeing, this escalating conflict grow even more tense. We know that the Trump administration has been hearing now from Israel that Israel is expected to really ramp up some of their attacks on the Iranians in the coming days. The president kind of alluded to that when speaking with reporters this morning, all to say we have seen an already very tense conflict become even more precarious. Hopefully we can get you some of the new details we learn as this meeting in the Situation Room kicks off shortly.
CNN's Nick Payton-Walsh is with us now. So, Nick, how are these threats likely to be received by Iran's leadership?
Yeah, I mean, it is extraordinary, isn't it? In sort of one breath, simultaneously saying, we're not going to kill you for now, but then demanding the unconditional surrender, it seems, of Iran's leadership, if not Iran itself. I very much doubt that Iran's leaders are going to read that and feel that they have to suddenly, quote, turn themselves in. And indeed, how that would even function, I don't really know, given Tehran is simultaneously being told to evacuate by the Israeli government, echoed by President Trump as well. I think it, again, focuses this particular moment as to exactly what sort of off-ramp does Iran try and find for itself here. We know that its foreign minister has been on the phone to the United Kingdom, France and Germany in the past past hours, potentially exploring diplomatic routes again, although keen to emphasize how Iran still wants retaliation for Israeli strikes. But it's also clear, and repeated by Donald Trump again today, that Israel has air superiority in Iran at the moment. In fact, Donald Trump choosing to say the word "we" when he referred to that control of the skies. So we're at a point now where it looks like the United States is trying to sort of tease to some degree the possibility of it maybe getting more involved or becoming some sort of rhetorical play within this particular conflict, even though just a matter of days ago Trump was clear he didn't want Israel to attack Iran. But I think Iran now dealing with a very complex moment. We've been looking at some reporting about how many potentially missiles it has left that could indeed reach Israel. They've slowed their tempo in the last days. Only 30 fired overnight. Not many, if any, got through at all. Some suggestions from experts that possibly Iran might have anything between 300 and 1,300 of the 2,000 or so that could reach Israel left. That puts it very much down to depleted stocks. That will leave them deeply anxious about their ability to have a deterrent going forwards. And so I think there's also now a remaining question about the enrichment program, the Fordell plant buried in a mountain, whether or not the United States assists Israel with its bunker buster bombs to hit that. A lot clearly in play here, but the United States significantly more involved rhetorically through these Trump posts than it has been in the past days. Remarkable developments just as Iran appears weakest.
Certainly. And Nick, Iran is now urging residents to stop using apps like WhatsApp and Telegram, citing recent assassinations. Tell us about this warning.
Yeah, I mean, extraordinary to say to people essentially to stay clear of the two most popular social media and messaging apps in Iran. Now, many have been wondering exactly how it's been that Israel, with such precision, appears to have targeted many military leaders. It seems, some of the pictures we've seen of apartment blocks hit in upscale parts of Tehran as they slept, hitting the rooms that they may well have been in. Now, many would point towards cell phones potentially being how they got that kind of tracking perfected. Civilian casualties too, I should point out, during some of these strikes, but now a broader suggestion to stay off those apps. Is that also potentially part of the Iranian regime trying to find some way of preventing opposition organising in the days ahead? Look, I think it's fair to say that inside the capital, Tehran at least, the focus is on trying to avoid or get away from Israeli airstrikes rather than change government, despite that becoming increasingly one of Israel's talking points. But yeah, remarkable sign, frankly, of how penetrated Iran has been, that its government is simply saying, stay off your key parts of the internet to their population. A real sign, I think, of this critical moment for Iran as a regional power, even though that phrase, frankly, seems obsolete now, Brianna.
Yeah, and as so many people are trying to escape the capital, we see the highways there just packed with cars heading out of town. Nick Payton-Walsh, thank you very much for the reporting.
Joining me is Brett McGurk, CNN's global affairs analyst and a former member of the U.S. National Security Council, where he served as Middle East and North Africa coordinator. Brett, it's so great to have you on, especially now given the fast-pacing developments that we are seeing in the Middle East. I want to get you to respond to this post on Truth Social just moments ago from President Trump. We now have complete and total control of the skies over Iran. Iran had good sky trackers and other defensive equipment, and plenty of it, but it doesn't compare to American-made, conceived, and manufactured stuff. Nobody does it better than the good old USA. How do you interpret that, Brett? Because to me, it doesn't sound like somebody who's eager to get back to the negotiating table, perhaps. But I don't know. You're the expert here.
Beyond, it's great to be here. Harry's a tough act to follow, but look, reacting to every True Social post is fraught with challenges because one thing can change. But look, there's a clear trend line here in the White House policy. I think it's very clear. They have said what they have done. They laid down an offer to Iran that they consider a very fair deal on the nuclear problem. That was about 6 weeks ago. Iran really did not answer and, in fact, escalated its program in response. And we are now, the Israelis have begun this military campaign. So the White House has been very clear to Iran. Either go back to the table with the offer we put down, or face the continuation of this military campaign. And what is new now in the last 24 hours is a very real possibility that the United States military will act to take out the deeply buried Fordo enrichment facility, which has 10 cascades spinning of very advanced centrifuges.
The ultimatum laid bare. Iran faces either submission or intensified destruction, a stark reminder of how precarious diplomacy is as military pressure mounts.
So that's where we are. I think what the president is doing in his statements today is reminding Iran, this is really coercive diplomacy in the extreme, reminding Iran, you do not control your skies. The Israeli Air Force is over your skies, can strike at will. The United States military is a very close partner of the Israelis. We are not, as far as I know, involved in any sort of offensive operations against Iran, but we are helping to defend and protect Israel, but that can change. So basically, Iran, onus is on you. Let's come back to the table, accept the deal that we put down. That's the off-ramp, or else this is going to get worse.
This explosive escalation reveals a White House torn between pressing for peace and threatening war. President Trump's stark public threats and claims of control signify a toughened stance that risks igniting broader conflict. With Iran's leadership pushed into a corner and missile strikes intensifying, the dangerous question remains: will diplomacy survive, or are we hurtling toward full-scale warfare? Drop your take below. How far should the U.S. push?